it's sort of hard to describe, but I can only put it this way, that it's becoming more and more esoteric. Which in a certain sense means that the more one comes here for practical advice in spiritual terms, the less I feel able to present and provide that. There's a fundamental question at the core of everybody's spiritual pursuit, and that is, what are you looking for? Why are you doing this? Why would you come here every week, or why would you sit every day? Why would you ask for help to surrender, to open? What's your goal in all of this? And everybody, I think, would have a different answer. And every one of those answers would probably be pretty much short-sighted. Because where this all heads is way beyond anything most of you, or most of anybody, can envision. So that once you set off on this journey, and you begin to realize how big a journey it is, and where it's headed, and how huge it is, you may decide this isn't exactly the journey you wish to be on, even though it really on some level is the ultimate journey. And even though you are on it whether you want to be or not, at some point there's a part of you, usually ego mind, that goes, whoa, this is not healthy for the ego. This is not going to serve me. This is not what I bargained for. It's not what I had hoped for. And it's kind of because you didn't quite know what you were getting yourself into. What is this journey that we're on? Where does it really go? Why would anybody get on it? You know, it's sort of like going on a pilgrimage, taking a 1,000-mile journey or something like that, and you probably have some abstract idea of what you want out of it. You know, you want to make peace with something. You want to find something that you couldn't find just in your daily life. That somehow this weekly, monthly, daily, hourly effort that you're making would have some kind of resolution that would be worth it. And in your mind you have a sense of what that is. And I guess what I'm beginning to tell people is whatever it is you think it is, it's not true. Whatever you can conceptualize as the end goal of this pilgrimage isn't going to happen. Not in the way you think it is. And it's certainly not going to happen for you as a being, personality, entity. Because it's so much bigger than your personality, it's so much bigger than your ego, it's so much bigger than your own personal desires or hopes or ambitions. It will pretty much decimate those ambitions on many levels. It may fulfill them. Don't get me wrong. You may get everything you're asking for, but it won't be what you want. So at some point, once you get it, you will feel somewhat betrayed probably, because you go, well, I got it all. I got everything I wanted. Now what? Now what? Well, this is kind of the now what. I was talking to a student recently about the Tibetan idea, or even let's say the Buddhist idea, of getting off the wheel of death and rebirth. The idea that we keep cycling around one life after another, over and over and over and over, seeking what? Well, you can put anything in that equation. Fame, wealth, happiness, love, bliss, perfection. Whatever you want to put into that equation, you can put in, and you go around, and around, and the reason you keep going around is that you kind of never find it, or else you wouldn't keep going around. Why would you keep cycling through one life after another if you could actually get what you're looking for? So I was talking to this student, and he said to me, well, I think I only want a few more. I just want a few more lives. I went, okay. And he kind of expressed it in a little bit of the Groundhog Day idea, that if I have a few more lives, maybe I'll finally get it right. I'll finally get it together. I'll finally meet the woman I've always been looking for. I'll finally get the recognition I deserve. I'll finally have the career that I always really wanted. Because clearly, it's getting late in the game for that to happen in this lifetime for this person who I love very much. But I just kind of went, wow. Where are you going to get in your life if you're willing to put it off to the next life, or 2 more, 3 more lives? You know, the chances are, if there are multiple lives, and my guess is probably for the mind that we inherit, yes, we all kind of probably get multiple lives, maybe in the hundreds of thousands or maybe millions of lives, who knows, you know. But if you keep getting those lives, you keep trying to get it better and better each life, I suppose, but life is a crapshoot, and anything can happen. You know, I mean, somewhere you get this perfect life, and you've got everything flowing, everything. Everything's clicking. It's like you've learned all the lessons of all the previous lifetimes, and suddenly you're thinking about how perfect life is, and you smash your car into somebody else's car, and you kill a family of 4. Sorry, I know that's depressing, but let me just throw that out there. Boom! The karma of that is massive. If you're truly awakened on some level, you will probably find a way to work through that rather quickly, I suppose. But if there's any hesitancy in your sense of being, you will probably take ownership of that tragedy. And you will probably want to atone for that tragedy. And you will probably want to do whatever karmic thing you need to do to deeply apologize to those beings for shortening their journey. And you will probably suffer. And you will probably then add on to the 2 or 3 lives you wanted, or maybe 1 more life that you thought you needed, by about however many that you have to go through to make peace with that tragedy. I'm just throwing that out there because the stories continue. They continue and they continue and they continue and they proliferate in so many ways. And suddenly, maybe you wake up to this idea like, I've done it. I've done it. Enough. How many more lives do I need to get to what? To get where? What am I looking for here? What is all this? And that is the beginning of this real journey. What am I looking for? What am I trying to get out of this manifested experience? I can't answer that for you. Each of you has to kind of ask that question, and many of you will have answers, just like this friend did. I want to get a really great partner. I want to get a really great career. I really would like to know what it's like to have a lot of money. To have everything I want. I'd like to know what it's like to be a truly beautiful, wonderful, perfect person. And then let's say you get it. And then you go, okay, I got it. I arrived there. And then you have this realization that it's all going to get taken away. Boom. You got there. You're now old. Your body's falling apart. You're in a lot of pain. There's all these difficult things happening. The beautiful children you loved, now all they're waiting for is your money. The people who thought you were just perfect and beautiful when you were on the silver screen, now look at you and go, oh my God, she must have had face work. You have all these horrible things happening in the disintegration, and all of your perfection is gone. And it's all being taken away in the way it is taken away, which is not with pleasure, not with ease. It's always with some kind of discomfort and regret. It's really kind of awful. But everyone goes through it. Everyone, because that's how this works. And somewhere along the line you'll say, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to get it and lose it, get it and lose it, get it and lose it. Why do I keep going through this crazy, stupid drama? And then, perhaps, you get a life where you really hold on to that. And you say, this time I am going to get off the wheel of death and rebirth. And let's say you find a teacher who talks about how to do it. And you really commit to it. And you really start to live this, well, you can start all the ascetic practices that Buddha did. You give up attachment, you sit in the woods, you sit there and you meditate, and it rains on you, and you're starving, and you don't have any food, and you're getting there and you're working through all the discomforts of life, and you're feeling this incredible sense of, I can do this, I can do this. But then you go, but what is this? I'm just sitting here miserable. What have I achieved? And Buddha said, enough of this craziness. Why am I sitting here like this? And he ends up with this idea of the middle path. Just live your life. You don't have to do the extremes. Just live what you are, what you have. But Buddha had one very important awakening in all of this. And he sat down at some final moment, and all of the possible things that could come at you, not from the outside but from the inside, desire, terror, fear, all of the stuff that finally comes at you, he just sat through that and he said, okay, thy will be done. He accepted the whole thing. He accepted everything. He just let it come, and it didn't faze him. And it didn't faze him because something remarkable takes place. He awoke, and he awoke to the fact that the only way all of these powers have power over him is if there's a him there to react to them. If there's a him to be threatened, or a her to be threatened. And he suddenly understood, there's no me. There is nobody here. There was nobody left to be afraid. There was nobody left to desire or want anything. There was just, whatever you want to call this, presence, life, reality, light, whatever you want to call it, was still there, but there was no Gautama Buddha, no Siddhartha, there was no person. There was just all of this. And the washing away of the person, they say, took place because he sat under that Bodhi tree and just faced it all. In a sense, that's the journey that we're on. The true confrontation with the unsubstantiality of our persona, of our ego mind. If you sit there long enough, and I'm telling you, it helps to do it in meditation, but you can do it just walking through the day, and you start to look at everything that's coming at you, not in an analytical way, but you just observe it. And you start to see, when stuff comes at you, the thing that reacts to it. The thing that goes, I like that, I don't like that. And you start to see how much that reaction is programmed. Since you're a little baby, I'm watching my grandson starting not to like certain food. In the beginning, he'd eat everything. But now he's going, He doesn't want that. He wants this stuff. And he's liking and not liking. And we all begin to construct ourselves that way. And we build this person of whatever this is. And when you start to dissolve that structure, you will see it very vividly, because everything will come at you and you will go in some version of that, and you'll go yes and no. And when you start to free yourself of that, you'll start to see the construct, and you'll start to see you kind of begin to melt away. Meditation is the melting away of the external idea of yourself and then the internal idea of yourself. And that internal idea of yourself is just as strong as the external. I like this color coat, I don't like that shirt. I like these socks, I don't like those socks. I like this feeling, I don't like that feeling. All of that stuff is going on all the time. And when you sit really quietly, you can see it happen. You can go, oh, And then, perhaps you can stop that from happening by just getting very quiet inside and just going, thy will be done, or yes, or just open, or acknowledge. Or, if you're lucky, the whole process subsides, and suddenly, there's no more you loving, not loving, liking, not liking, hating, not hating stuff. There's just nothing operating that way. It just goes away. When that occurred here, I celebrated as though I finally arrived there. I was free of all of that stuff, all of that Bruce stuff. There was nothing functioning like that. It was just, that was gone. What was left was like indescribable presence, just this, present. And I thought the journey was over. I had awakened, or awakening had happened, and the awakening was, and I've said this to you 4,000 times, that there was no Bruce to awaken. There just was this. And I've described this as well. Bruce still comes back every so often. This pieces of Bruce, especially all the gluey, sticky stuff on the side of the pan, comes. I'm aware of it. It still needs to be scrubbed away. That's kind of a process that's interesting. But the bigger process isn't even process. It's just being. Being. And being is vast. Being is indescribable. And that journey of being is still a journey. But it is not a journey into the future, and it is not a journey that brings up the past. It's just stuff is unfolding. It's just happening all the time, all the time. It's just happening. And that's all that's going on, is this enormous happening. But within that, there's a whole new level of awareness. And I've begun describing that awareness in the last classes that I'm teaching, because what's happening for me is the realization that everything arrives out of nothing. The awareness of being nothing, manifested or unmanifested, is profound. It changes everything. All of the rules that you have learned over your entire life are no longer operable. They are on the level of ego-mindedness. They are in the world of the manifested reality kind of operable. There is still consequence and karma and all that, but it's no longer directly impacting you. It's just how the world works, although it's impossible to define, and it's impossible to understand in any conceptual way, because you know nothing is true. Fascinating. Nothing is true. Everything you hold on to as truth is an idea or a concept that will not survive. And as you see it arise, you see it, okay, it feels good, truths feel good, the truths you think, but you also know they are totally impermanent. It's like there's nothing really there. It's just something coming up that feels good, satisfies something, makes you feel like, okay, that has a temporary sort of solidity or substance that I like. But you stop holding on to those things and you just go. There's a kind of absolute letting go of anything that gives purpose or meaning. Not that there isn't at certain moments purpose and meaning, but it doesn't project itself into some larger future. It just is for the moment. Boom. There's a kind of living meaning, if you will. Living truth. Living reality. This very instant is that. It comes filled with content, filled with reality, filled with brilliance and truth and sunsets and thunderstorms and children and richness and success and failure and all of that stuff. It's just filled with all of that stuff. But it's only for this moment. It doesn't build to anything other than what it is now. And it evaporates. And so, here I am, trying to teach something that has no truth in it, that has no ultimate substance, that has no anything. It's true in the moment, it's true. I think you're probably going to get it conceptually, because that's what the mind does. It takes on a concept, and you may find that desirable. Like, I would like to know that truth. I'd like to be in that truth. And that will keep you on the path. That will keep you in the pilgrimage. But you may also go, what's he talking about? Or that's not really what I'm looking for. I want money. I want love. I want success. I want all these things. In which case, everything I'm saying is not going to satisfy. Although, in some way, it may bring you those things. It may absolutely bring you the very thing I'm talking about, but only for one reason. And that is to show you that it isn't what you wanted. It did not and cannot deliver what you want. And what do you want? What do you want? Well, interestingly, at a certain point, all wants are of the mind. All wants are of the ego. And then you let go of all of that, and then what's there? And it's really interesting, because without you there's a collective want. There's a collective something going on. And what is that? It's, in a way, to be. You want to be. This active principle, to be. To be alive, to be present, to be here. With the absolute knowledge that it's not going to last. Being itself will not last. What will it become? What does it become? We enter into mystery. We enter into absolute mystery. But the great teachers will tell you that when all of this evaporates and ceases to be, something survives that. You know, they'll talk about the movie screen that's still there when the light's no longer projected on it. You know, when we leave this world, or at some point, let's say all of the ego-minded being elements of existence wash away, or when the collective wish evaporates from the universe of your being, you'll find what's there. Do you want to find that? Are you interested? Is this something you're looking for? This sort of ultimate resonance, this ultimate unknown, this ultimate non-ultimate reality? I don't think everyone is looking for that in a conscious way, but I think anyone who's sitting around here, who's listening to this talk, something is going on inside them that would answer yes. There is something in you looking for this truth. They can make it sound attractive because they can call it the end of suffering, the end of desire, awakening to what is, ultimate truth, the bliss of being. They can give it all these qualities that make you go, I want that. But it's still in the realm of ownership. And then ownership dies, and it's all still there, and yet it's nothing. And there's nothing that you can make sense of. There's nothing that comes together that goes, oh, I get it. It's just a kind of wonder. A kind of wonder. And not even that, really. So, kind of what are we doing here? It's really interesting. We're doing energy work. And what is energy work? We are washing away substance. We are washing away ego-minded stickiness, addictions, patterns, desires and fears. We are washing them away. We're surgically removing them. We are energetically entering into the depth of your ego-minded structure and dismantling it molecule by molecule, with the amazing thing being that getting rid of certain molecularity starts to dissolve the whole system. So you are on the journey to liberation from ego-mind, which is only the beginning of a journey to the dissolution of everything. And it is esoteric in that everything you say that will lead you into understanding this and to believing in it will fail ultimately to hold up to examination. It will not be true. It's so endlessly subtle and so indescribable and barely something one can talk about. And yet here we are in that process. So if you are not interested in this journey or in this dissolution, why come here? If it's conceptual and you've just got an idea of what it's about and you think it'll be interesting, maybe that's enough to glue you to this effort. But if you're really hungry for it, the reason to come here is because there is an energetic source that appears to help in the dissolution of the false nature of existence. False is not a good word. But ego-minded striving, which is ultimately not going to get you anywhere except into another lifetime of striving. So, as I said at the beginning, this is esoteric, and this may be further than your minds are able to journey. It may make no sense. I would venture to say the reason to make this practice a part of your life is because it really does lead to liberation from everything that your mind has created that tells you who you are. But it leads you to a liberation from far more than that. And I cannot tell you what that is specifically, other than it's not knowable, and living in the unknowable, living in the unknown, living without any sense of anything being true, you will discover something that you've been searching for your whole life. Do you want it? And if not, don't come. And if you do, be here seriously. Any questions?
So, when I come here, if you're in a place of nothing and you're just being with life, I'm here because I think that something that happens here helps release tensions and resistance, because life, I don't know, but it could ask something of you. I mean, you're not just going to sit there like Nityananda in a diaper in a room. You have a life, and you do that, but when you realize there's so much sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, and you're nothing, but you're everything. So you're doing your life, and you just see what life presents. But there is sometimes resistance, because life is making a huge demand. You go, whoa, I'm not sure I'm up for that. And I think what you do when you, several months ago you said I'm an energy worker. And I remember Rudy said he uses all these streams of energy, you can't analyze them, just, But is that a valid reason to be here?
I think so. It's a valid reason. I studied with Rudy. He changed my system. He kept taking away the unreal. He kept taking away all of the stuff, helping me break down all of the stuff that defined a life of profound sort of illusion and delusion. And it kept getting clearer and clearer, more and more available, more and more freeing for me as I went along, and continues to do that in ways that I never even imagined. I mean, it's so far beyond anything I set off to find. It's so much. There are no words to describe it, but I can't think of anything else I would have ever wanted to know than what's being availed to me, to this, what's coming forth. And it's coming forth now in gushing form, in bigger and bigger form. And there's no grasping it. There's no putting it together and going, I got it. It's just awe. And then, as you describe these things coming at you that are bigger than you can handle, well, you discovered nothing's thrown at you that's bigger than you can handle. What happens is you just, more and more of you gets pushed out of the way so that more and more of this can come through so it can become whatever it needs to become in itself in the world. And it may be there as one force to do something for one other human being. It may be that it just wants to be in the atmosphere. It may be that it wants to speak to multitudes. Who knows? It won't matter to you. It just won't matter because you won't know. You don't know what impact you have on people. You don't know that walking down the street and one smile changes, ripples into the atmosphere that changes 14,000 lives. You don't know. You just be. You just be this whatever is. Now we're all doing it, but with deep layers of unconsciousness, deep layers of illusion. And we're not functioning very well in the world, but the world uses that because it knows what it's doing. But every so often, within the context of its brilliant design, parts of it are allowed to or encouraged to wake up, to serve it in a whole other way. And everyone who's drawn to these talks or sitting in this room are part of that process. It's an extraordinary thing, but it's so real and demanding and involving, and you have to really go, yes, I want this. That's pretty much all you have to do. You just go, yes, I want this. I'm here for this. This is the lifetime that I've finally said yes to this. And I want it. I want it now. I want it. Trust me, they know when you're ready. They know when you say that and you're true to it. And they will present I don't know what they is, we, us, it, manifests through us. This is an unbelievable opportunity. I mean, it's beyond understanding how extraordinary this is, what's going on here. And yet, how do you sell it to anybody? I don't even know, other than to show up and be this thing. And this energy that's working through me, that worked through Rudy, that is present, that I don't get why I'm here. I have no idea, other than somewhere along the way, I said, I want this. I'm in it. I'm in it to the end, basically. And that's a big commitment. It's a big commitment because they're going to take everything away. And I don't care. I don't care. That's what I'm here for. Take it. Because I know what's left is amazing. It won't be Bruce, but who cares?
So when you talk about just this, how you're going through life, is there resistance on any level?
Sure.
Is that ego? Because
Yeah, partly you can call it that. I mean, if you want to analyze it, and I've kind of not, it's getting harder to analyze what is it. But yes, there's all of these reactions, there's all of these things that happen, and you have to deal with what comes, whatever comes. But mostly you deal with it by going, so, so. What can I say? Even this, whatever it may be. You don't know. You don't know what's going to be thrown. You just have no idea. But ultimately, it's not going to feel good, probably. You don't know how they're going to dismantle you in the end. But the body, the body is its own thing. The body is the final configuration. And that's going to be taken apart. It's going to be blown up. It's going to be set on fire. It's going to be cut off, no air supply. Who knows what's going to happen? Nobody likes that. There is no physical body that wants to be dismantled. It just doesn't. And that's the structure that we all end up with until that's gone. And that's its own thing. And you will fight against it biologically because you do. And there's resistance in that. And most of our resistance in life comes from bodily fear. But it's real and probably important. Although finally at some point that you really do let go. You do let go, often in extremity, but you let go. Because you can't hold on to this structure anymore. I've watched it done peacefully in people who I've been with when they've died. Struggle, finally release from the struggle, and they start to relax, and then this breath goes away, and it's over. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. Then there are people, who have to do it in really difficult moments. You don't know. You don't know what you're going to get. You really have no idea. But ultimately, it's one action that's required, and that is final, total, absolute surrender. Surrender of the biology of you. But this is all a journey into all of that, and you're going to learn more and more and more as you go along, and the knowledge base is remarkable, the energy is phenomenal, and you start to live in the presence of this thing that you are and have always been, that you started to separate from into a separate entity, but that's not really who you are, so you have to get back to the totality that you are, and that's extraordinary. It's really extraordinary.
Can I ask another quick one? I remember Rudy saying he had some teachers where it took everything out of him to go through the door and be in the room with them. Like that. Can you talk about that? What that is?
Well,
Rudy did that.
It's ego stuff in a way. I had the same thing with Rudy. My walking into his store, especially when he moved to 4th Avenue, I had grown more in my work, so I had more to lose, I suppose, or it was becoming much more real to me. And I would sometimes come to his store and walk around the block 3 times to get the energy and the courage to walk from the front of the store down the aisle to where his desk was, which was usually about 50 feet, something like that, through a million Buddhas and statues and things he was selling. I would walk down it like a gangplank, waiting to be executed at the end. That's really what I felt like. And I would walk into the store, and Rudy would be sitting at his desk, usually surrounded by other people talking, and I would kind of stand there, and he would kind of motion to a chair to sit down. And I would sit, and we'd be talking, and all of a sudden he would stop talking. Just stop. And everybody would go, like all the socializing was just suddenly over, and he would just be. He would just look at you. And you realized you have to go into deep surrender now totally. Every bit of personality and charm and everything you think you brought into the equation is meaningless now. It's just stillness. And he would just click into that.
Did that change over time for you?
No. Oh, the fear, the fear of it?
Fear,
yes. It would be different every time, really. You never knew what you were bringing to the table. Every time is different. I always look at what happens with spiritual growth is like, it's like creating a diamond. You have this rough stone, and you present an angle, and you go, and it goes like, clarity. You feel so good as a diamond. You just got clear, and then another rough side gets presented, and the knife cleaver goes, and it cuts another part of the facet of who you are. But it keeps doing it. But the only thing that gets faceted each time is the rough stuff. They don't facet the clear stuff. They keep going to the stuff that's not clear, and they keep cutting it until you're this unbelievably gorgeous, beautiful gem. Well, we all have rough stuff until the end, and the rough stuff keeps getting presented to the jeweler in the sky, who makes chop and facets you into something that really radiates energy. And then it uses you and turns you in different directions to present its incredible rainbow-like luminosity to the universe. And that's what you go through. And you never know when they're going to chop. And it never feels good. Plus, you're embarrassed by the fact that you're still choppable, that there's still a part of you that's rough and ready, or rough and unready, that has to be changed, fixed. And I was describing to Tom earlier something that Rudy once said to me, that he said, after a while, you're like this beautiful, somebody walking around in a beautiful white suit with one stain in the front. It's like totally embarrassing. You're this beautiful entity, except you have one stain that everybody's looking at, because that's the one thing that's still there, and you got to do something, or walk around with that stain for the rest of your life and know that accepting that imperfection becomes your perfection. I am that. I am that.
Yeah, I think that the key part, well, actually, kind of listening to the questions and also your answers, it just seems to me that it's also, that journey through the different stages. So, yes, I want to have a better relationship, I want to find the right person, I want to have the right career. It almost seems like you almost have to go through that journey to see, like, it's not the end all be all once you reach that part. And I think we're all kind of looking for that journey because at least I don't want to speak for anybody else here, but personally, I know that there's something missing inside of me. That's why I come here. If I was pretty confident that, hey, I know either what's missing or I know what that incomplete part is, great, let's work on that. And kind of like you said also, I'm this gleaming white being with a perfect suit with this red spot. Well, what is that spot? And I think to me that's the journey, because if you didn't believe it, if you didn't know that there was a spot, you wouldn't, okay, everything's great, honky-dory, let's go to Starbucks and go drink it. But instead you know that there's a problem, and you're trying to find out through whatever means you can, and that's your journey.
That's the human condition, and in a way, in the perfect life, you get everything, realize it's not it, and then go deeper.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you don't get that far. A lot of the times you don't get the perfect life, and you have to realize things are not working, and you begin to accept an imperfect life as exactly what you need. And that's a tough journey, to give up this idea that I need one more lifetime to get the perfect woman, or one more lifetime to finally win whatever awards you're trying to win. That's really, it's hard. It's really hard, but that is kind of the spiritual journey. It's to finally recognize this lifetime will not deliver everything. And let me guarantee anyone who's listening, you will not get everything. There's always going to be something not delivered, always. And there will always be a reason to come back until you finally go, no, I'm not coming back for that. It's that piece that seems to be there in our mind is not the thing you're looking for. The thing you're looking for is way deep inside, and it may look like a stain on a jacket. But it's the very thing you're looking for. And once you embrace it and say yes to it, there's no embarrassment anymore. There's no struggle anymore. There's no sense of imperfection. There's a sense that perfection often looks like a stain on a white jacket. Hard to accept that, but that's how it works. Once you accept that, you find your wholeness.
As an energy worker, did you learn that from Rudy, or just through being with him you learned how to...
I think I was attracted to Rudy because something in me gravitated toward that. And Rudy doesn't teach you to do it. And and I think I told you when I first started to teach, I asked, how do you do it? And I was told, just sit there and do it. Just do it. And that's what happened. And I don't work like everyone else. Other people in this discipline that Rudy's teaching, they don't all do mudra work. Everyone has a different version of energy work, but it's all the same. I just happen to have, somehow discovered movement that I can't tell you what it does, but it harmonizes, it moves energy, it does something. It's like scalpeling. Scalpel and does an incision in somewhere and something gets achieved. You do what comes naturally. And each one of us, you don't even know what comes naturally until you let go of the part that is unnatural. And not that anything is really unnatural, but the parts of you that are ego-directed, that are struggling like mad for whatever they're struggling for. You let go of all that stuff and see what are your strengths. What are you really? Who are you beyond your illusions, your images, your dreams, your fascinations? Just what are you? And we all have something that we are, and we're all worthy. Everyone is worthy.
So when you're doing your energy work with us, do you feel joy?
There's enormous sensations. Joy is one of them. Okay. Enormous sensation. Beyond what one would normally experience in any life experience. There's the connection that is to connect with another human being, to touch the part of them that's vulnerable and be allowed in, to be allowed to take something inside someone that is not whole and move it 1 millimeter to the left, and it locks in and it becomes flowing. it becomes what it's wanting to be for thousands of years. The joy of that, the satisfaction of that, the sense of having figured out something that you don't even understand, but knowing it connected, is overwhelmingly remarkable. But I think you can get that from a million different, writing a poem and finding the one word that you've been looking for a month that suddenly makes the whole poem work. Or you're with a date that you've never been able to find to say the thing you've been wanting to say that will cement that into a lifelong relationship, and finally you just go, this is the moment. If I don't do it now, it'll never happen. And you do it. And that person looks at you and they melt, and boom, there's a lifetime that just came out of that moment of enormous courage. That's what it feels like. Over and over and over and over and over. Okay, I know this is dragged on forever. Thank you guys for coming. I can't promise this won't get less esoteric, because that just seems to be where it's headed. And if it starts to be over your head and you don't care anymore and you don't want to be here, it's fine. It's fine. And if I stop talking altogether at some point, that's fine. I don't know what more to say. I don't know what more will be revealed here, except that I do know there's an unfolding happening that I would never have been aware of or predicted. I don't understand any of it, but it's going on, and I'm giving it a voice. And that voice is speaking whatever it wants to speak, and you guys happen to be the listeners of the moment. So thank you.